Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Bold American Podcast presented by Barstool Sports. It's just a couple of dudes hanging, chatting today. You got me, you got Rob. Ryan is conveniently out sick. I don't think it has anything to do with her Eagles losing yesterday, but she is conveniently not here. She does not feel well. So we will leave that at that. And Sands and WTC are actually squaring off. Texans Steelers as we record. They are watching that game and locked in. I can appreciate that. So they will not be with us as we discuss what's going on in Iran right now with all their crazy protests. Certainly, we'd be remiss not to mention the shooting that happened a few days ago in Minneapolis that has been litigated all over the internet and news, and everybody has an opinion. So you're going to hear ours as well. The Golden Globes was last night, and they have added a best podcast category. Spoiler for those who did not watch the Golden Globes, we did not win it. And we want to get into a little social media ban that is taking place in Australia and talk about the details about that. And as I said, it's just going to be myself and Rob and all Dude Fest, but that works because today's show is sponsored by Blue Chew. Fellas, you already know what time it is, all right? It's time to level up, and Blue Chew just dropped something crazy. I'm talking next level championship belt gold-plated energy. Blue Chew Gold is the newest innovation from the number one chewable ED brand. This ain't your grandpa's little blue pill. This is a 4-in-1 beast that's setting the gold standard for performance. We're talking 2 ingredients for blood flow to keep that rocket pumping, mixed with, bear with me here, apomorphine, and oxytocin to turn up the arousal and connection in your brain and body. Blue Chew Gold dissolves under your tongue and works in as little as 15 minutes. That means you can get it on quicker and stay in the game longer. Elevation without hesitation. This is peak passion and peak performance in a single tablet. Listen, if your bed could talk after this, it'd be asking for a break. So make life easier by getting harder and discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. Get 10% off your first month of Blue Chew Gold with code BOLD. That's promo code BOLD. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. That is promo code BOLD. Rob, what is up, dude? A lot going on in the world, but how are you doing? How was your last 72?
What's up, amigo? Blue Chew, man. I'm gonna get after it. Nothing else to do.
There you go. There you go. It's important. Sorry, let's talk about that real quick. Like, listen, happy marriage, man. You know, you get older and there's nothing wrong with using some assistance. And Blue Chew has got the goods. So nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're good, bro. I was gonna say on that topic, now that it's just the boys today. I hit 1 year alcohol free, and Connor, I don't know if you're like this, but I have the bedroom and the sex life and the sex performance when you put alcohol away is 10x. And I say that confidently. Like, if you're looking at, for listeners out there, for anybody, I'm always down to chat about it. But if you're looking at ways to improve your sex life, your bedroom, your stamina, removing alcohol is a good first step. Even if it's just 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you'll see that performance increase for the better. Yeah,
that makes sense. I mean, you know, I'm sure a lot of guys can relate. You go out to the bar all night and, you know, maybe you leave the bar with someone, or maybe you go home to your spouse and things just aren't working as well, right? So I can totally understand how that's going. But beyond just the performance in the bedroom, how else are you feeling, you know, health-wise, mental-wise? I have to imagine there's just a ton of benefit all around.
Yeah, I mean, besides shaving my fucking head. No, it's I'd have to say mentally top tier. Like, I've been able to take on more work, business has improved, relationships with family and friends has improved. You and I are, I think, better friends. I think content wise, business wise, what I do professionally is just, it's all around a win-win. I think you're clearer for people, not just immediate family, but you're able to have conversations on the street better. You're able to be present better. I think checking in with old friends is better, is more fun. Um, sure, I miss I miss that like long, like that 4 or 5 beer feeling when you're like
Yeah.
in a conversation or watching a sports game. I miss that.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
but mentally, very, very clear. Physically, dude, the gym gains are great. I look like a fucking psycho with my shaved head in the gym these days, but it's all around a win-win, and it's a good pause. So who knows, man? Maybe one day
Yeah,
come
that's
back.
good because you've said, and not to put you on the spot because
Yeah.
you may or may not have the answer, but you've said like maybe you'll revisit it and maybe it'll be a different relationship with alcohol. So where are you standing now, 1 year sober, with all of that?
Yeah, still day to day. I think I'll probably go another 6 to 12 months, maybe longer. And
I would
2020.
think, and
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's different, but I would think once you hit a year, and especially if you go 2 years, it might be a situation where you think to yourself, "What's the point at this point?"
Yeah.
Maybe if you had like a real penchant for something, like you really liked wine or whiskey, and you were someone who appreciated those tastes, you
Yeah.
might go back into that. But the idea of drinking for strictly the social aspect, again, once you get 1 year, 2 year, you might realize what's the point to go back.
Yeah, and to your point, Connor, I've done so many party environments. I've done so many events. I've done club nights. I've done bar nights sober where I'm that dude with like 12 Diet Cokes and I have to piss every 5 minutes just as if I was drinking beer at that
Mm,
consumption level. I'm just so used to it now. The only thing, Army Navy case in point is so different because the emotions and the vibes are so high, but like
mm.
going to bars and just seeing how inebriated people are
Oh yeah,
is just like such an eye opener, dude. And I'm just
yeah.
like, oh my God, was I like that? And you're just like,
You probably were. I mean,
100%,
truthfully,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
Fucking annoying and sloppy. But like, um, but I just had to take a reset, a pause. And I think it's good for some people that started or developing issues and coping issues with alcohol like me. So, yeah, but enough about that.
No, no. I actually find this to be an interesting topic, so
Okay.
I actually had a couple more questions
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because, um, but before my dad passed, for the last 6 years of his life, he was sober, and
Okay.
that was out of necessity because he had another cancer scare, and the doctor said, "Listen, I'm not gonna tell you should stop drinking, but I will tell you cancer loves alcohol. So,
Mm,
if you want this thing to go away and stay away, which the first bout did, just stop drinking." And he just got so used to it. So I think it's one of those things, especially you probably started a little earlier with things just from being in Europe and things of that nature.
yeah.
It's almost like you get to a certain point, you're like, all right, well, how many more nights can I do this? Am I really missing out? Or have I really, do you feel like maybe you've gotten your fill at this point?
Yeah. I mean, at a certain one day I'd love to I think I'll embellish a little more on some of the stories that I have experienced in Vegas, deployments due to alcohol and some of the crazy situations that I put myself in. Um, but that's maybe for another day. As we grow and as I kind of figure out how to best explain some of them. But 100%, dude. I think I was going 100% at age 13, 14. Like
Yeah.
raves, partying in Holland, Germany, and I feel like at West Point even like guys were going out doing their thing for 500th night. I was like, I'd already been doing that for a few years. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
and I think we've talked about this offline too, where yeah, dude, I feel like I kind of got that. I kind of got that nut. You know what I mean? Like I experienced it all already, and it's just like now I
Right. And you realize too, fellow adults, they don't care.
no,
If you're out with me and you're drinking club soda, I don't care. That doesn't
yeah,
impede my time or my dinner or my night out. So if you want to drink club soda or Diet Coke, have at it. Who
yeah,
cares?
dude. There's been a few nights in Vegas where I'm out at clubs or bars, and people are like, "Oh, you're not drinking?" Like, no, I'm just vibing. I'm just here to have a good time and be with you, and it's more about like being with you and in your presence and enjoying the night and just kind of having fun. Sure, I'm not going to be like balls to the wall until 2, but I'll kick it till 10 or 11 and still be fun,
Mm-hmm.
and then drive home and be safe and wake up. But that's kind of how I factor things in now. And yeah, it's still just as fun. Maybe a little less. The frequency is not as high paced and not as crazy, but I still have a phenomenal time.
Yes, and I think what you realize too is that, especially now, as you have children and they get older, so much of the stuff isn't really drinking focused anyway.
It's
So it's
not.
not like you're really missing out because you're not drinking. That was, I say all the time, the thing that has allowed me at this point to be in a good marriage and me be happy in marriage and moving out to the suburbs is because I waited and I got all that stuff out of my system. And if I had tried to get married at 30, I would have gotten divorced because I wasn't done running around outside, or excuse me, out at bars on Friday nights. Now, like, we get to Friday night, and if it's just me and my wife watching a movie, not drinking anything, and we have a nice dinner and then watch a movie, I don't think, oh man, I'm missing out. Like I feel like there's more that I can be doing. So I think so much of not drinking, I think it's got to be easier when you make a conscious choice yourself. I'm just going to try this and not drink anymore versus maybe you got 3 DUIs and you're basically up against it where, hey, you better stop drinking or, your spouse is going to leave you or you're going to lose your whole life that's going to crumble if you keep drinking. So I'm making a whole bunch of assumptions here, but I have to imagine, getting everything out of your system and also doing this voluntarily, to my knowledge that you did it voluntarily, has made it exponentially easier on you.
Yeah, and I think that the first the first summer, once you can do a full summer, I say, like once you can do a full summer without a drink in your hand, or a drink in your hand, but maybe not drinking it, like however you want to phrase that. But I feel like once you can do a full summer and then obviously 12 months, like you can kind of do any situation, any scenario, especially if you're someone who's as extroverted and
Right,
and
right,
as
right.
social as me. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because recently Dr. Oz came out and they were talking about, the new food pyramid,
Yeah.
and he goes into detail about alcohol and he talks about how it's a social lubricant and a lot of people use it as such. And I think that's fine in moderation. I'm certainly not going to be a proponent for heavily drinking at this age. But it's true. It is a social lubricant, and being social is a good thing. So if it helps you to be social, okay. But yeah,
Mhm.
you're a fortunate person that you're an extrovert by nature. So that's not going to be something that you have to worry about anymore.
Yeah, I mean, a couple months ago, definitely had an urge. Like there was something about just having like a margarita with some Mexican food. Like it just sounded so appealing, bro. And I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I get it.
yeah, but it is a lubricant. I mean, it definitely is. You see, oh man, we see friends of ours, classmates, peers, whatever, that when they have 2 or 3 drinks, they're a lot more tolerable based on maybe they're shedding more light on stuff, they're finally speaking up. It's just like you start to see it, like and I think what Dr. Oz said, he's getting some flack for it. I think what's nice about that statement is that it wasn't bullshit. It wasn't this political answer. He was
Right.
speaking like as if someone who does love a good glass of wine. I think that's good. I
Right.
think interaction
I
and
appreciate the honesty because then he
yeah,
was talking about brunch because he's like, yeah, just don't drink alcohol at breakfast. And somebody
yeah.
made a comment about brunch. He's like, oh, well, brunch is a little bit different, especially on the weekends. I forget specifically what he said, but he kind of alluded to what you're saying, how I'm a normal person that consumes alcohol. So let's all be adults and talk about it as such.
Yeah, and I think it's totally fair. And look what he said about the blue zones and the way Europeans live for the most part. Me being one of them.
Right.
It's like people are able to do. Connor, when I left the army and I went to my first job in the German economy, it was normal for everyone to have a beer. I was 27, 28, and I had to get over that mental block. Like, oh shit, yeah, we can have a beer or two at a late lunch, or we can call it
And
off
go back
work
to work.
Friday and start drinking around noon. It's just like, and that's normal with your work colleagues. And then maybe answer an email or two. Like, it's totally fine. It's totally normal.
Right. Yeah. Whereas this country is certainly different, and I don't know what the statistics are, but I have to imagine the binge drinking in the United States is bigger than any other place in the country. So that lends itself to that.
Yeah.
But so anyway, yeah, congrats. And that is our 15 minutes on alcohol and being sober. So congrats on that. That's a tremendous milestone, and I think it's great that you can also be an advocate for those that want to talk to you about it and hear your perspective on what your life is like sans alcohol. And for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much the same, it seems like. So super helpful. So rest of the weekend though, all good.
All good, man. I went snowboarding. I grew up snowboarding.
I saw that. Where did you go?
Yeah, so we have fun little fact about Las Vegas. We have a mountain range about 45 minutes away. Mount Charleston, Lee Canyon specifically, there's a lodge, there's 5 ski lifts, there's about 20, 30 different trails. It's not like the Rockies, it's not like Vail, but if you want to snowboard for a day or two, you can do that in Las Vegas.
How do those lift ticket prices compare then to the other big resorts? Are you getting a little help there? Is it less crazy?
My good friend booked it for us. I think it was like, dude, I think it's only like $20.
Oh, all right. Then yeah, that's a perfect little, day jaunt. If I'm only paying $20, you appreciate what you're going to do. You understand that, okay, this is not going to be Aspen. This is not going to be Breckenridge. Not going to be Snowbird. But you only pay $20. So it's kind of just, you're scratching that itch a little bit.
Dude, I don't have shit. I gave away all my equipment and I don't have a snowboard anymore. So we show up, I pick my buddy up in my 4Runner, get him around 6:45, 7. We're up at the mountain at 8. The equipment rental opens up at 8, I think. I think it was another $100 for snowboard, helmet, boots, and lift, drink, food, all that. It was probably a $200 day for the both of us. And we were shredding the slopes. It was fucking sick.
Yeah. And I get it. $200 for a day worth of activity. $200 can, seem like a lot of money, but compared to what are you going to pay? Like next month, actually like a month from today, I'm going to Telluride.
Sick.
I'm not going to be able to do the day for $200, unfortunately. And I've already resigned to that. So that's fantastic. You're able to go and do that.
And it was a last minute trip. Shout out to my boy Zach, who was just like, dude, let's hit the slopes. I was like, dude, we haven't done that in years. And I hadn't snowboarded in 2 years since my son was born. So it was just awesome, bro. There's no servers up on the mountain. Put the phone down, go up maybe 10, 15 times, have a blast, have a couple good rides, eat some shit. You know what I mean? It's just all a day. And dude, I was home by 3 p.m.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. Nice.
Yeah.
Big weekend of football. There was a lot of great college games. The NFL playoffs, the wild card weekend was fantastic. We had a bunch of my daughter's friends from school and their parents here at the house yesterday. And we did something for the first time that I cannot recommend enough when you have little children running around. We had a babysitter to take all the toddlers like in our playroom in our basement and keep an eye on the toddlers. So all the adults could hang and be with the little kids, the little babies, because everybody's got a baby as well. And I was thinking about it. It's like some people are probably thinking to themselves, oh, what, you can't watch your kids? And it's not that we can't watch our own kids. Like we have a camera in the basement and we keep an eye on them. It's just nice because kids require attention and kids require supervision. And I think it's nice to be able to host and have other friends come over and the little guys and girls can go do their own thing too. And kind of everybody's happy. So I was just kind of curious, if you have done that before or if you've been around at a party or a get together where that's happened and what you thought about it.
I have seen it, but to your point, and for those folks who do not have children and probably think, what the fuck, that's so strange. It's not strange. Kids between the age of 2 and 4 constantly want mommy, or they're gonna freak out if
Yeah.
they see mommy and daddy and they get jealous. So it's like a strategic distraction. They're
Right.
still getting attention, they're still being watched by someone responsible, they're still with friends, but it gives you that peace of mind and that opportunity to then be with the little baby. Like dude, I 100% get it. I haven't done it, I've seen it. We've been at a house where that was the case, but no, I applaud it. It's like you're thinking ahead, you're doing the right thing, you're giving yourself some stress-free moments with the baby, right? Like
Right. Right.
you gotta
And
tell
it's
them,
not,
no,
it's not so like the parents can rage, right?
no,
It's like the parents are still all kind of just, we're all just hanging out as we normally would. It's just they're off doing their own thing, and it's just like a little
I
bit more of a relaxing time, and we're able to watch the games and visit
yeah,
with one another without toddlers being nuts like
dude, I
they are
see it.
wont to do.
I see it, and then, when my friends or family that do have lots of young children or young kids, they're just so consumed by it, you can't even have a normal conversation with them, and it's like,
Yeah.
it is
Dude,
tough.
that's the thing. Like you can't hang out with other adults when you're all kind of. I mean, you can, but it's not the same. Kids need attention, and if you want to be a present parent, I'm not going to be able to engage another dad in a super deep conversation
Right.
if we're both watching our kids. So,
100%.
it was just
It's
something differently we did, and it worked out well. So that's not
That's
going to be
good.
something we do every weekend, but when we're having people over, it worked out well, and we were very fortunate. We have a good pool of babysitters to pick
Yeah.
from that all the parents are comfortable with. So it worked out well.
Well, dude, think about it too. I mean, there's so many parents our age or that we know of or friends of ours, like they have nannies, they have au pairs.
Right,
Like
right, right,
it's the same concept. It's just for an event, and it's like there's nothing wrong with that. Like for you to
right,
have a good event, a good time with some friends for a couple hours, and enjoy each other's company. The kids are
right,
still busy and having fun. There's nothing wrong with that.
right, right, right. So, all right, let's get into some of these topics. I
Yeah.
think we're going to get into the shooting that happened in Minneapolis, but first, the thing that's gotten overshadowed are all these crazy anti-government protests in Iran, and I shouldn't even call them crazy. Like it seems they're justified by the people of Iran, and by no means am I a geopolitical expert here, but you've seen these Iranians, they're all ages protesting all over the country with large crowds in all the major cities, including Tehran. There wasn't necessarily one event that kind of kicked off the protests, to my knowledge. It's kind of just been a gradual build of their issues. And I think they've kind of reached a fever pitch. Their inflation, energy shortages, and just the decline in standard of living. So now these protesters they're fed up with it. These people of Iran are fed up with it, calling out corruption and the authoritarian rule that they've been under for decades, and they're chanting death to Khomeini. So there's been some clashes between protesters and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and unfortunately, they become violent. There's been 1,000 arrests, and roughly 100 people have been killed, which is horrible. So now the U.S. is kind of debating, all right, do we get involved? Do we send troops? How do we help them? So my question to you is, do we go over there and get involved and help the people of Iran?
I would not be surprised if we did something. And I
Mhm.
say that because of the 12-day war over the summer. I say that giving the rhetoric and kind of the policy stance of the Trump administration, Secretary Rubio, SecWar, etc. It'd probably be more of like a State Department thing with Marco Rubio in the sense of like maybe we help the protesters, we support them with some sort of Wi-Fi or equipment or logistics, or we drop off some sort of aid to keep fueling the fire. But
Mm.
I would say since I was a kid and I grew up in Germany, I had a lot of Persian friends. The Persians are an interesting culture, ethnicity, where they Arabs identify very, very much so with Islam and the Muslim faith. A lot of my Persian friends and the Persian culture they don't necessarily have a identity with Islam as the Arabs do with Islam. And I say that
Okay.
where the Persians for generations and hundreds of years were always like a very scholastic, smart, forward-thinking culture.
Yes.
And Persians want to be in the West. Like the Persians in Iran, they want to be part of the West. They want to be westernized. They want to live in a democracy. And I feel
Yeah.
like this is like kind of the fuel to the fire where we've seen demonstrations over the years. We've seen protesters killed. We've seen a lot of uprisings. But this one to me, given what Trump has kind of done with Venezuela to kind of remove their dictator, seeing how kind of we supported Israel in the 12-day war against Iran, nuking their nukes essentially. Long story short, I could see us supporting these protesters, any sort of freedom movement, a little more than we have in the last 10 to 20 years.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of my favorite movies in the last 20 years is Argo. And you
Ah,
see in the beginning of that movie, what Iran used to look like and then how it made the shift under, the Ayatollah. And I mean, it's just a 180 culture wise. I mean, they had, women could wear, lack of better description, regular clothing. They didn't have to wear burqas and cover their faces the way that they do now. And they were encouraged to be educated and
it's just
westernized to
society.
what you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was clearly what those people were used to for a long time. And you always see these pictures of what it used to look like. And it seemed like the country was in great shape. And it's certainly not what it is now. So I understand the protests that are happening. President Trump, I saw you tweeted how one way I think we're going to try to support them is if other countries do any sort of business with Iran, they're going to be in big trouble. For again, a simple way to explain it. So I think that's one way. I just I don't want our military sent over there point blank. I don't want to get involved to that extent. I don't know that would be helpful, meeting violence with violence in our military or even just a military presence. I don't think that would be beneficial to them achieving their goals, whatever those goals might be. I think we need to do more things like you've talked about and what Trump was talking about in terms of punishing their country in the ways of trade and their economy, because I think that's a better way to get people's attention at the top and get them to, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. That's the worst, dude. When you know a sneeze is coming on and you're actually saying something. So,
There you go.
like a professional, I muted it. But anyway, I don't want to see us get involved, because then the other thing, we can just transition right now. We have so many problems at home right now. So, why are we going to run around the world and try to spread ourselves so thin, helping everybody else? We need to focus on what's going on in our own backyard. And these protests over the ICE raids, the existence of ICE, it's all just seems like, now that woman being shot was absolutely horrible. I would never want a protest to result in people dying. But where are we at as a country that you have ICE doing these raids and executing on the orders they've been giving? Then you have these protesters that are, ultimately in some cases giving their lives, and the violence. I just don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't. This doesn't feel like this is going to end well, unfortunately. And knock on wood. I'm always trying to be optimistic. This feels untenable a little bit, and it's going to, in my opinion, seeming like it's going to unravel and get worse before it gets better. So we got to figure that out. So before we go run and help Iran, let's figure out what the heck is going on in this country and focus on our citizens So, what was your take on everything that went down in Minneapolis and that horrific, death of that woman, that protester, and just in general the temperature of the country right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, those scenes were Minnesota, man. There's always something. And very, I say that as someone who's kind of sad seeing everything that's going on. I wish that ICE officer did not shoot. Um,
Seriously.
I really sincerely wish he did not shoot that woman and kill her. I think we've also gotten to a point where we find American citizens berating and publicly trying to humiliate federal agents, and it's like that's sad. From the video, from what I gather from that video, numerous videos, it looked like these federal agents had these citizens protesters walk right up to their face, and it's just like, how are we even letting this happen? Like, how did we get to this? And then for this ICE agent to then murder this protester, this woman, what looks to be like a street in suburbia, right? It's like,
Mhm.
what are we doing? And to your point, the tone has to come down, man. And I think this show's been saying that since we started. I don't know what the answer is, but I mean, you can't go out humiliating and publicly doxing federal agents, regardless of what agency they're from. But you also have to show restraint when, someone's gonna
It's
run at
tough when you're being antagonized
Mhm.
or, when something goes crazy, that just makes the situation that much more difficult. Because the other thing I think there's really a problem is I can't identify what ICE's tactics are, right? So it seems like they just roll up places in their own vehicles and they just like physically grab people. Like I don't see like there's any sort of uniformity
Mhm.
with these ICE agents across the country. And maybe that's because they're not being trained properly and they're not getting sufficient amount of training. It's scary to me when you have somebody, because I think about police officers and I'm friends with a lot of police officers. I grew up with a lot of police officers. And inherently that job is dangerous. If you are in a profession where you are carrying a weapon, that's a dangerous job. So you have these people that are being sent out on these missions to capture illegal aliens, and I don't know that they all fully understand what they're doing. And when you think about protests, I've never been trained by law enforcement on riot control,
Mhm.
but that's got to be one of the scariest things because one thing I have experience with is being around a very angry crowd or an angry mob. That's scary when you have a lot of people coming at you and they don't even have to be armed. But if you have like 100 people coming at you and it's you and three other people, that's a scary situation. So you need somebody who's exceptionally well trained and has to be above whatever actions occur by these people who are incredibly angry, incredibly hostile. Unfortunately, so many of these protests have turned violent and aggressive. So it's just a really, really hard situation. And I think about like, when we were and anybody who's, served in any sort of armed conflict, whether it's GWAT or any other conflict that's occurred with our military, you watch and you see how your enemy starts to react and you adjust your tactics accordingly, right? Like, the way people were using IEDs in Iraq as an example, they changed over the course of the time that we were in Iraq, and then as a result our tactics changed, and then the enemy's tactics changed again to adjust to our changed tactics. So I think if you are ICE right now, you need to be briefing your people and saying, look at these situations, and we need to change how we are going about these missions, because I think if they just maintain status quo, we're going to see more incidents like this. Like the
Yeah.
fact that that guy, again, I don't know what ICE's ROE is, but you know, the fact that he pulled his weapon and discharged his firearm, that's crazy to me, given the scenario. And I don't want to get into and try to litigate like, was he justified, was he not justified? You know, that's been discussed for the last 4 or 5 days ad nausea. What I'm saying is, as I said at the top, it doesn't seem to me like these guys are, and girls, if there's, you know, the female ICE agents as well, these guys and girls are operating with any sort of uniformity. Does that make sense? Have you
Yeah.
noticed that?
Yeah, no, and I think that's a very, very poignant point. I think when you understand the climate, you understand that half the country is against you. Sure, I know you're a federal officer, federal agent, and there's rules and regulations in place to protect you, but we also work in like the business of perception, regardless of kind of what you do these days, right? Like there's always cameras out. People are going to see video very, very swiftly. You're going to see your reactions. You're already kind of at the front lines, and there's this attitude and emotion towards your agency and your operation. If I was in charge of that, 100%, I would be looking at ways to either smooth over those relations, you know, win hearts and minds, do something that doesn't make you fucking stand out like a sore thumb, and kind of disseminate that down and make sure people are tracking that and make sure that proper training is either going to happen or is in the process of happening. And yeah, again, it's just so sad. It's just like, how do we keep putting these guys and gals in positions like that? And you know, like how is their footprint being publicized like that? Like how are these, I feel like if you're an undercover police officer or undercover FBI agent in Vegas, I have no idea where you are. I don't even know if anyone will figure that out. Why are these? Why is the movement of ICE being figured out like this?
Yeah, how do we know? How do people know that these ICE raids, when they're happening, where they're happening, and they're able to assemble in mass on those locations and disrupt these missions? That's a great point.
And it's like, why, if you know there's going to be fucking protesters there, maybe is it such a high value target that you have to grab them right then and there? I don't understand. Right? It's just like,
exactly,
military strategic standpoint, it's like, all right, you know, you can always strike again. Like,
yeah, right.
chances are they'll probably be there again. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it's a situation where ICE agents, and again, I don't have all the intel here, so I don't know. You know, is it a necessity that they have, you know, weapons with lethal capabilities? Can we de-escalate that way to where they're carrying weapons such that they're able to disable individuals but not kill individuals? I don't know. You know, it's just I'm looking for ways to kind of bring the temperature down, because right now the temperature, it's at a fever pitch, and if we continue down this road, as I said, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And you know, immediately everyone takes to their sides, and you know, you have the side that said the guy was completely justified, everything he did was by the book. Then you have the side that says he was completely wrong, she did nothing wrong. So you know, people are breaking down the videos, and it's more about, to so many people, and I'm chronically online, I recognize that, but you know, from what I can see, it seems like it's more about who was right and wrong in this scenario, and not, all right, well, this scenario happened, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I think it's just like such a chronic, like, cover your ass pandemic we have in American culture. It's just like, if something bad happens, everyone bunkers down, fixes it on their side and their take and their content creators and their personas and their personalities that they follow. And it's just like, and then that's it. And that's how it is. And I feel like we're not doing enough to course correct. Like I wonder what is ICE handling, now in Washington D.C. What is ICE doing so this doesn't happen again? By
Right.
also mitigating risk and keeping their agents safe by not getting this information out, and like
Right.
doing the right thing to ensure that there's no fucking crazy wacko protesters that are just trying to dox. Like, I don't know. Then, and like the risk and the fault is on both. It's just like,
Yeah.
I could have sworn like when we were, I'm not saying we were like elite units, but like when we did deployment training, when we were at NTC and all this stuff, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think we were always taught to shoot at the car first and to either do something to incite hesitation from the would-be assailant or perpetrator and not kill right away. I think there's something in our training as Army officers and soldiers where like we ordered people to stop and tell the and
Yeah, a proper escalation of force. It
yeah,
wasn't like, jump right to killing an individual. There was an escalation of force is and that, varied by, where you were, what you were doing. But
right.
if anything, I think by and large, we were always trained to try to de-escalate the situation. You were, firing your weapon as a last resort type situation, not right away. And that clearly did not happen in this scenario. So it's wild times that we're living in, and I hope we get it figured out because I don't know. It just seems like just the way they're going about these raids and everything. It just feels jumbled. Like it doesn't feel, like conversely, our Delta guys who went and got Maduro, that was a precise operation, you know, tried to inflict as few casualties as possible. He was taken, his wife was taken without harm to either of them. It was precise. Whereas these ICE raids, they feel kind of clunky and guys just rolling up on what's that?
Like last minute almost. Like
Yeah, yeah. Well,
we're
but
just gonna do
and
this.
right, and there's just like no tactics involved, and it's just like listen. I don't know if the answer is more training for these individuals or if their training's been shortened because they just got to get them out on the street. I don't know, but we gotta do something differently because we can't.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point. I think if a good ice raid happens, we don't fucking hear about it.
Yeah, we keep seeing all these other ones that are
Right?
just
Like I feel like that's the status quo. That's what you should be focused on. It's like
yeah. Yeah,
ah,
yeah. So, all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. The other thing we're going to keep an eye on now, last night, the Golden Globes, we're
oh,
recording
yeah.
on Monday. So, Sunday night, the Golden Globes, they have now introduced a podcast category. So, the nominees were Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, Mel Robbins podcast, Good Hang with Amy Poehler, Call Her Daddy, Smartless, and Up First. And there was 25 eligible podcasts. I'm not going to read all of those, but one I will mention. Our friends over at Pardon My Take, shout to those guys for actually being mentioned in this conversation. But this is like ridiculous,
It's
right?
not.
Because Good Hang with Amy Poehler, she won the Golden Globe, and to me, it's just like another way for celebrities and entertainers to pat themselves on the back. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not going to put Call Her Daddy in this. The ones I know about are Dax Shepard's, Good Hang, Smartless, less so Armchair, I think, but like Good Hang with Amy Poehler and Smartless. You have these A-list celebrities who were just given the keys to the kingdom, basically, and now it's just other people in Hollywood voting for their buddies to get another award. I don't know. It seems a little ridiculous. And don't get me wrong, I do think podcasting is a legitimate entertainment source, but it doesn't seem to me like it should be at the Golden Globes.
Dude, I'm gonna say something that might offend others, but like all these fucking shows should be fucking thanking Barstool and Joe Rogan for even being nominated because without
Yeah.
Rogan and what Dave Portnoy has done with this incredible media company, none of these motherfuckers would have had shows or would have wanted to start it. It was all a business move on 90% of these. And they should be thanking Dave Portnoy in all their speeches. And they should be sending a fucking royalty check to Barstool, because we essentially have the blueprint. And long before I even joined the Barstool team, but like you guys and like what you did 10 years ago, like you guys started this.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's just very weird to me. And it was actually, I was thinking one time I asked a buddy of mine who works in the entertainment industry. He's an actor, but he does most of his work as a stunt performer and a body double for a very well-known actor. So he's been around the business for a pretty long time. And I forget how it came up, but the topic of award shows came up, and he just kind of like went in on them for 5 minutes on how they're just completely ridiculous circle jerks, where it's just Hollywood getting together to pat themselves on the back. And listen, I'm not trying to downplay Hollywood. I am a cinephile. I love television and movies. I love them. And I think these people should be heralded because their entertainment that they provide is a very needed thing.
It deserves to be recognized. Yeah,
for sure. But this one just to me sounds like, oh, Amy Poehler, I think her podcast has been going less than a year. And
that's what I'm talking about, Cons. That's what I'm fucking saying.
And, obviously she can get, monster guests because she's Amy Poehler and she has, first-rate production team and a ton of money and an awesome studio. It's like, Amy, come back and talk to me when, you're doing a podcast from a closet because it's the only place that you can get good acoustics. And a $29 microphone that you found on Amazon. Those are the stories I want to hear. So it's just a little ridiculous that this is a category now.
Like for all the listeners too, there's 25, right? Cons and we're not gonna fucking list them, but the categories are all fucked up too. There's like 2020 ABC News, Caller Daddy, Candace, Crime Junkie. Then there's Polar. Then there's Sean Ryan. Then there's Rotten Mango. I don't even know what the fuck that is. There's Pod Save America. Then there's Bill Simmons. Then there's Joe Rogan. Then there's Megyn Kelly. Then there's Theo Von and NPR. So it's like that's like looping in like drama with comedy, with murder, with thriller.
Right.
It's like they're all
those shows are so radically different.
Like. And I mean, Theo Von, like what he's been able to do in the last 2-3 years. And I've seen his show blow up from like pre-COVID to now. It's just like, I get it. Like Amy Poehler, I think she's super likable and charming and is.
This isn't a knock on Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
Completely. Because I've listened to her show. It's cool. Like she did some nice guests. But again, she's not the KFC radio, that like just started with three dudes talking in their office at home. All these shows, a lot of them are just so overly produced, have a ton of money behind them. And, maybe this is just me being salty or whatever. No, I don't care. It just seems a little weird. And you're right. There needs to be, if you're going to do this, break it out by category because you're comparing apples and oranges in so many of these shows.
And you got to, the one thing Rogan does very well too is like when he does have guests on, and the new Joe Rogan, Bradley Cooper was pretty legit, but the way Joe Rogan will go into the background of podcasting and how it started, like, I feel like these people need to just give their dues to like the Barstools, the Portnoys, the KFCs, and be like, and the Cons and the PMTs. It's just like, I don't know. It's
just like to mention me in the same breath as those people, but no, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. So then last thing, you saw this social media ban in Australia. So they're banning social media for teens, and there's 10 major social media platforms to include TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Snapchat. And if you're under 16, you are not allowed to use them. You have to like verify your age. And most parents and mental health groups support the move and are looking forward to seeing the results. The apps are responsible for including steps to verify age and keep younger users off their platforms. Critics are saying they're not sure how enforceable this will be, and they argue that teens looking to exist and interact online will just be driven other places that are not banned, and that might be true. But what do you think about banning social media for folks under 16?
I wouldn't necessarily classify YouTube in the same bucket as TikTok and Snapchat. And I say that because I grew up on YouTube and MySpace, and YouTube
Mhm.
now is just such an educational long form
Yeah.
platform where, like, I don't know, like, I feel like if you're going to ban social media, one, I think this is great. I actually think this is good. Um, I think TikTok needs to be on that. Snapchat, 100%. Facebook, yes. Instagram, yes. I think you could loop in those four. X, YouTube, maybe not so much, or maybe you have different restrictions on what they can see. But I 100% agree with what Australia is doing here. I think we need to probably do that in some capacity too. I think just driving around Vegas today, getting coffee, so many fucking kids are on their phones, not even talking to each other. It's just like going to the bus stop. I'm like, what do you have to look at fucking 6 a.m.? You should be talking to your fucking friend at the bus stop. Like, what's so important?
Right.
Lift your fucking head up, dribble a basketball, gossip about some shit, make fun of your teachers. I don't know. But like, don't do it on
Yeah.
your phone, you know? And it's just like, but we can also teach our children responsibility. And
Mhm.
I think that's important too, Connor. It's like when the time's right, my son will get a cell phone when the timing is right, and he'll slowly start learning what that is, why it exists, and like it'll help shape and inform him. And just the way I'm probably sure you will do that with your beautiful children. It's just like,
Mhm.
um,
I think it's a good idea. If you said is this a good idea or a bad idea, I think it's a good idea.
right.
Now, I agree with you. Well, I think Twitter needs to be on there because I mean, listen, you could see videos
That's
of
true.
people being killed,
Yes.
pornography.
Fucking
It's
crazy.
it's crazy what you
You're right.
can see on Twitter. It's wild.
If you search,
But
yeah.
like I think about my daughter and when she's 13, 14, 15 years old, 16 years old, and how vulnerable girls are at that age, and you're trying to keep up with other people, and it's a peer pressure thing, and then you're overly concerned because you're already, I think it's just nature, you're concerned with how you look and appear, especially among your peer group. So I think social media exasperates all the tough aspects of growing up.
Hmm.
So if we could just eliminate that, I think that's a great thing. I was listening to somebody get interviewed the other day. It was actually a while ago now, but he was talking to his son who was 13 or 14, and his buddies. They were all over at his house, and they said, the guy asked his son and his friends, like, what do you guys think of social media? They all said, we don't really like it. We just do it because everybody's doing it and we don't want to be
Right.
left out.
Yeah.
So it's not even like these kids, to your point about what are you even doing at 6 a.m., talk to your friend. It's not even that these kids want to be doing this. They almost feel like they have to just to keep up. And there's a certain extent where, yes, you don't want your kid to be the outcast weirdo who is just oblivious to what's going on in the world. Because obviously, social media is a very big part of our world. So you don't want to be, what was that show on Netflix where the girl is trapped underground for like 2 decades or whatever? You end up acting like an outcast in society if you don't have anything and you don't know what's going on. But I agree with doing this and introducing these things to kids at a certain age to protect them from themselves in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I think if you put in, the right limitations too, right? It's just like anything. You get an hour in front of the TV, you get 30 minutes on the
Right.
phone, something like that. And I think that is important. I think what you want to do as a teenager too is like you don't want to isolate your son or daughter from like experiencing the teenage years as and
Sure.
the
And I
Joneses.
think a lot of ways too,
Yeah.
I mean, this is getting to like parenting, but like
Yeah.
in a lot of ways too, like I think it's important for your kids to kind of learn things on their own too, like and not prescribe every last thing and try to protect them from every bad thing in the world. They gotta just learn some things, and some of those lessons are going to be hard lessons, and maybe they'll get made fun of, or maybe they'll be sad about how one of their friends was treated. All
Mhm.
of this ties itself into raising your kids. So what's great is that Australia is doing this. So by the time our kids are 13, maybe we'll have the data and it'll support it, and our social media in this country will be banned or regulated. Because I was
Yeah.
just thinking when you were saying, like, what if we kept it to a certain amount of time? Like, I wonder if there's absolutely a way you could probably do this where, okay, if your kid's 16 and they go on Instagram, all right, your countdown starts and you get 30 minutes on Instagram. So if I'm scrolling for 10 minutes and then I put my phone away, all right, well, I got 20 minutes for the rest of the day. Something like that.
And
so I think
yeah, and like even like a phone, like I just think of like a phone in bed. I work in marketing, so I have 2 fucking phones. I'm looking at social and emails right before I go to sleep, right when I get up at 4:35, whatever, and then there goes the day, right? But
right.
I have that under control. I'm conditioned. I make a living off that. I know how to regulate it. Kids, you know, maybe not so much. Maybe you don't bring your phone to bed. Maybe you put that fucker down in, you know, in the living room, or it's locked up. I don't know. But there's ways to do it, and where they can still enjoy growing up as a teenager with a phone, and also learning how not to use it for everything.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say is that something I found interesting is listening to people, you know, in and around our age who grew up with social media, who grew up with the internet, and now we've kind of seen the other side of it. And now these people are parents. So whether I've heard them just talking among friend groups or I've heard people on podcasts or other outlets, we're all kind of collectively rowing in the same direction. We're all kind of saying, like, hey, we all want to really regulate this for our kids. So I think that's ultimately what will make it easier for us, is that I think I don't know about you. I don't think I've met anyone my age who said, like, well, I can't wait till my kid's 13 because we're going to fire up a TikTok account and that kid's going mega viral and that's going to be our
you know, there's some
No,
parents that are thinking like that, which is so
they probably
sad.
are, which is sad. But I think largely, like, parents our age, we're all thinking the same thing. Like, oh my God, I don't want my kid anywhere near this hellscape of social media. So I think that will ultimately make it easier to regulate, because again, kids look at what are their friends doing, and you know, they want to do what their friends are doing. And if nobody's doing it, it's a lot easier to say, like, okay, well, I won't do it either. And you know, so much of teaching your kid to be a leader and do their own thing and not worry about what the crowd is doing is important. But in certain cases, I think it makes it that much easier if everybody's off of it. So
Yeah, I mean, dude, growing up when I was 13, 14, 15, I was on MSN Messenger, right? Like that was my thing back then, was like chatting with the girls and my friends, was like,
oh man, AIM, instant messenger. Yeah.
and like that was regulated too. I got maybe 45 minutes, an hour a day. And then like as I got older, then I was on all day, like senior year of high school, whatever, just kept my thing as like a way. But just like Microsoft nowadays, whatever, or Slack. But yeah, I mean, another thing too on the cell phone note, on the social media use, we have so many fucking old politicians that are in their 70s, 80s, maybe 90s, right? And a lot of these people are in charge of legislation and how we go about our day to day. And I think as you start to see more elected officials kind of be our generation and kind of understand what our children are going through, you might see some of this regulation start to pop up a little more, right? Because like they're in tune with what's going on. These old people, like the Nancy Pelosi of the world, they're so worried about like their stock and like all this their shit. They're so old. They don't know what Facebook is, you know, like, and so
or they believe everything they see on Facebook. And it's like, no, Grandma, that's AI. That's not real.
Or maybe they're only on.
Yeah, I promise you that gorilla and that giraffe were not having lunch at McDonald's. I promise.
Yeah, or that elephant did not just launch that alligator up into the
right. Yeah. So that's a good point. But I'm hopeful for the future with social media in this country.
I think so too. I think we're just getting all smarter, right? Look at the food pyramid that just dropped.
Yeah.
It's just like we're all getting a little more health conscious. Rob's fucking sober, not drinking alcohol. There's a lot of people that are not drinking. There's a lot of people that are getting smarter with what they put in their body. You know, besides Ryan, who's fucking sick right now, but you know, everyone I feel like is just getting a little more in tune with what they need to do mentally, physically, to stay in shape, to prolong their lives. So it's very interesting, Connor, to your point. Who knows where we'll be in a few years?
It's crazy to think about. So
It is.
all right. That's all we got for topics. Any caveats? Anything that we missed?
Dude, okay. What is you're a Giants fan? Total off topic thing here. But I wanted to have this discussion with you, like at Army Navy or something. Like, as a Giants fan, I wanted to pose this question to you, and you're probably gonna laugh at me and be like, "Rob, what the fuck?" I've been through 2 Super Bowls, but dude, the last 10 years, maybe this is what it feels like to be a Jets fan and a Mets fan, but like, I'm at like my wits end with being a Giants fan, and
Yeah.
it's just so hard. I know Harbaugh's available. I know there's so much potential with the head coaching position, but like, what do you think about the franchise? Like, what is your honest assessment as to like what we've been doing the last 10 fucking years of fucking around, and the fact that Joe Shane is still our GM, and where we could go? Like, what's your take?
I think you gotta clean house, and Shane's he needs to go because so long as he's still there, nothing tells you that it should change. I think for so long the Giants have traded on, and it's unfortunate, it's very, very sad that Mr. Mara has
Right.
he's sick, so he's less involved. So your heart goes out to him and his family. But I think for so long the Giants traded on. They were one of the most respected organizations in the NFL, and they were just run in such a way that they would always kind of figure it out. And I think that's been less so in the last decade plus. So they need to get some better leadership in there. And they got to clean house, I think, and just start over. And it starts at the top. They need a new GM. Obviously, they're going to get a new coach. I think you got a bright future with some of the younger players, starting with Jackson Dart. So I wouldn't say all hope is lost. I don't think we're entering Jets territory. But even the Jets, man, like, look at when the Jets had good leadership in Bill Parcells, they went to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and then, years later with Mark Sanchez, they went back to the AFC Championship game with Rex Ryan. So it's unbelievable how much a good leader can make a difference in the NFL when you're dealing with these professional athletes and adults. So you get a really strong leader in the room, and I think that's what needs to happen for the Giants.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, I mean, Scattaboo,
Malik Neighbors. Scattaboo.
There's so much good talent, man, and it's just like,
and they're going to get more in the draft next year too. So
right, cap space, and yeah, maybe less ownership involvement, giving someone like a Harbaugh that just like the carte blanche to just go execute,
Yeah.
And then like with the NFL though too, it's like all these coaches, it's just like you have one shitty season, you're gone. It's like you can't even.
It's tough, man.
You can't even grow a franchise that way, with this like over your head. So it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Nah, dude. What about you?
Couple things really quickly. WTC gave us a stat. Shout to the Coast Guard. Before I started doing this podcast, I always kind of like dumped on the Coast Guard. I was like, they're just whatever. And then I learned more and more about them. And then obviously I fell in love with the movie The Guardian, starring Kevin Costner and Ashton Kutcher, which I always tell people they should watch because it's actually a legitimately very good movie. And you realize more and more all the awesome stuff the Coast Guard does. Dude, last year the Coast Guard seized $3.8 billion worth of narcotics. Wow. That was over 500,000 pounds worth of drugs. And they prevented 193,000 lethal doses from coming into the country. What's crazy is how many drugs are still here. There's so many drugs still in this country, despite the fact that they seized $3.8 billion worth. But just credit to the Coast Guard for getting it done and doing their best to keep our borders safe and keep us safe from all the, the illegal drugs that come into this country. And it's one of those professions, I think, that people largely forget about them because they just kind of go about their business and they're excellent at it. But Coast Guard, good for them. Good. It was a good 2025. And then the last thing, as everybody knows, I'm, a golf addict. And the big news is that guys are coming back now. They're allowed to come back from the Live Tour. Brooks Koepka is
Ooh.
back in the PGA Tour. You know, he's paying some penalties. He's got to make a $5 million donation to a charity. He is not allowed to receive player performance points or something of that nature, which ultimately amounts to an indeterminate amount of money anyway. But he gets to come back, and it's kind of like, you know, nothing happened. So I think you're going to see the next few days dudes coming back from Live.
I was gonna say, so are we gonna start seeing more Live guys just say, "See ya"?
Yeah, because they realize it's an inferior product. They went because they, you know, I don't know, Rob. I don't know about you, but if somebody offered me $500 million to go play for a different team, different tour, I might consider that. You know, it's not even life-changing money. That's multi-generational.
Yeah.
It's like your family doesn't have to work ever again in perpetuity for the next few hundred years.
So was that it then? Live Golf is just gonna hang it up in a few years and be like, "Hey, we tried."
I mean, if they lose all their big name stars, I don't know how they would survive.
Yeah.
But I'm excited because I think, you know, the Live guys coming back is just great for the sport.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Unity.
All right. That's going to do it for us today. Feel better, Ryan. Sorry about your Eagles, but take care. Make it a great week.